Okay, so award season is upon us, and it's not like last year. Cillian Murphy from Oppenheimer ran the table. There was like nobody else that was taking the awards than Cillian Murphy, right? And it was long deserved. This year's a little bit different. You have a potpourri of people who could be up for Golden Globes, SAG Awards, BAFTAs, Oscars. And even for the Golden Globes, for the Best Actor nominees is Adrien Brody for The Brutalist, Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Daniel Craig for Queer, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, and Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. There might be a few surprises in here because it's not a clear-cut winner, but I do think if I'm looking at this race, I feel like Adrien Brody has a shot of winning because there's a lot of good stuff about Brutalist. I don't think Coleman Domingo's going to win. I always like Coleman since Fear of the Walking Dead, and more people know him from Euphoria. But I think he's one of those dudes who they like right now, but they're never going to give him an award. Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice is interesting. I think he probably will win something, but not some of these major ones. But I think, and there's Daniel Craig, of course, and Daniel Craig could win, because they did a lot of good work as James Bond, and he should have been nominated for James Bond. But when I'm looking at this award season for the male actor category, because the female acting category with Best Supporting and Lead Actress is crazy. That's super competitive. I think it comes down to Timothée Chalamet and Ralph Fiennes. And I'll explain why it's down to those two. And I'll also explain who I think will probably win. So with Timothée Chalamet, he's the new it boy in Hollywood, right? Like, it happens all the time. There's a young guy that they like a lot. I think right now it's Timothée Chalamet and Austin Butler. Austin Butler got his with Elvis a couple of years ago. I also think that Austin Butler should have been nominated for Dune 2 because he was an excellent villain in Dune 2. But villains, unfortunately, don't get nominated unless you're Joker, right? You don't really get nominated for. But for Chalamet, I'm really, really sure about him because in Dune 1 he was okay. But then in Dune 2, he really impressed me. And I think he's a young, talented actor. I think he's a throwback actor. I think he's more of a Dustin Hoffman-ish type actor, right? But the thing I notice about Hollywood is they will uplift young actors. It's like, oh my God, we love you so much. You're the greatest. You're the brightest. But then when it comes to award season, they'll nominate them, but they won't give them the awards. Paul Newman was brilliant for years. For decades, Paul Newman was brilliant. And he didn't get his Oscar to A Color of Money with Tom Cruise in the 80s. Al Pacino was brilliant from Godfather 1 to Super Cold Dog Day Afternoon. Brilliant. He didn't get his until Son of a Woman in the 90s. You look at John Travolta. John Travolta was nominated for Saturday Night Fever. Should have, he was young, so I get why he didn't win. But once we get to Pulp Fiction, there's no reason why he shouldn't have won for Pulp Fiction. John Travolta deserved an award for Pulp Fiction, but he didn't win. So there's a long line of people who are like that get snubbed. Even though Tom Cruise is another one, should have won for Born on the 4th of July. They could have made up for it for Magnolia. And even now, Cruise is still making money for Hollywood because they have the next Mission Impossible movie come out in 2025. So it's almost like they uplift guys and then they say, hey, oh my God, we love you so much. You make so much money for us. Like Chalamet, he made Wonka, that made money. Dune made money. Dune 2 made money. They seem to like him. He seems to be a nice guy. They're thinking it's probably, well, if he's talented enough, we'll pay for his. He'll get his down the line. So we'll worry about Timothée later. We like him. He's good for TV. He's good for ratings. When people tune in, and young girls will probably tune in to see if he wins. But we're not gonna give him an award now. We'll give him an award maybe towards the end of the decade, maybe. Which brings us to Ralph Fiennes. Ralph Fiennes, in many ways, was where Timothée Chalamet was 30 years ago. So I was looking at when he got nominated, it's like, oh, Ralph Fiennes is nominated. Okay, that's cool. Like, I wonder how many awards he's won. He's never won an Oscar. Ralph Fiennes never won a Screen Actors Guild. And Ralph Fiennes never won a Golden Globe. You would think for a guy like him, it's like, oh, of course he's won at least one. He's won a Tony. He won a Tony for Hamlet, I think, in 95. And he won a BAFTA award for Schindler's List. And you would think, like, of course, he would have won something for Schindler's List as Best Supporting. Didn't win it. And I think he was where Chalamet was, where they said, well, Ralph Fiennes is a really talented actor. So he'll get his down the road. And then he was up again. Was for The English Patient? He was up again like a few years later, and he lost again. And then he was still working, but he wasn't nominated for an Academy Award. Again, even when he'll snub the second time, I'm sure the Academy and Golden Globes, all these people, well, he's a talented guy. He'll be back around. No, he was steadily working. He was acting, but he was never nominated again. So he's nominated for the Conclave, had good reviews. If he does win for the Golden Globes or the Oscars or any of them, it's deserved because he's well received, is well reviewed. People seem to like it. But it's crazy to me when you look at talented people and they say like, oh, well, we won't give it to you now, but we'll give it to you later. So here's Ralph Fiennes. So Ralph Fiennes, I don't think, because he's lost before, I don't think Ralph Fiennes is going to awards season like, oh, I'm going to win. I think he's like, hey, I'm back. You know, I haven't been here in a long time. I've been to all these award shows in a long time. There's a lot of people I probably haven't seen in a while. I'm just gonna have a good time, drink and be merry. That's what Jamie Lee Curtis was for Anywhere, Everywhere, All at Once. Because Angela Bassett was winning everything. And then they gave Jamie Lee the Oscar over Angela, which was a mistake. Angela Bassett deserved that award. It's a shame that Angela Bassett's never won an award. And the thing about Jamie Lee Curtis, it's not like she didn't do a good job in that movie, Everywhere, Anywhere, All at Once, I think. But the thing is, the Oscars are snobs. They don't nominate blockbusters. They don't have a blockbuster category. So Wicked is nominated, so that's a little bit different. But they don't have like a blockbuster category. Hollywood would not survive if it wasn't for blockbuster films, if it wasn't for action films, fantasy films, science fiction films, all these types of genres of comedies. And the fact that the Oscars is giving out all these awards, but they're not giving anything out to blockbuster or to comedy or to fantasy is ridiculous to me. So clearly, Jamie Lee Curtis, if they had a fantasy category at the Oscars or some of the other things, she probably would have won. That was the one great thing that happened back in the 90s when they had the Blockbuster Movie Awards. It was kind of dopey, but it's like, hey, man, we're actually giving awards to people who, people rent these films, people enjoy these films, but yet they never win. So we're going to give these, you're going to give these awards to these people. Same thing, MTV Awards is basically, a movie awards is kind of like that. So overall, I think Ralph Fiennes will win. The trick is, I don't know if he's going to run the table like Cillian Murphy. I feel like him and Chalamet are going to split some awards. Maybe Adrien Brody gets in there to kind of spoil the fun. He might get in there. Or I might be completely wrong. Adrien Brody might win a ton of these awards, but the fact that Adrien Brody has already won an Oscar and Chalamet and Fiennes never won creates a better storyline. So if I'm looking at this, like I said, last year it was completely easy, man. You just wrote in Cillian Murphy. It was a slam dunk. Even if you look at Sebastian Stan as Trump in The Apprentice, it's an interesting portrayal for a film that had trouble being released and distributed. And the fact that he got nominated for a Golden Globe is actually interesting. I'm curious to see if he'll get nominated for an Oscar for this. And Sebastian Stan is a neat guy, just because in a lot of ways he's really a character actor. But the same guy who played Donald Trump is the same dude who played the Winter Soldier. It's the same guy who played Jeff Galooly in I, Tonya with Margot Robbie. If you look at Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier in the Captain American films, if you see him in I, Tonya, and you see him as Donald Trump, as three totally, he doesn't even look the same. He is he's a leading man who's really a character actor. And he's fantastic. But I don't think he's going to win any awards. He might win some like Spirit. He might win like an independent award someplace. But overall, I don't see Sebastian winning. So for me, the story is going to be Timothée Chalamet versus Ralph Fiennes. I do feel good that Daniel Craig is in there. I feel like the Bond films have made so much money for Hollywood. I don't understand why none of the Bonds are ever nominated. It's not easy playing that role. You got to be cool. You got to be dramatic. You got to be kind of funny. You got to do action. This is where I'm just when I look at these award voters or people who do these nominations, like what is it about the Bond films you don't like? They made tons of films. Everybody loves Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Daniel Craig. How come Daniel Craig couldn't win for Skyfall? Oh, well. So what do you guys think of this? Best Actor for Golden Globes. Who do you think is going to win? I will have my lady nominees soon, which is crazy, so I have to think about what I'm going to say about that. But what do you think about the Golden Globes of Best Actor? And what do you think about Chalamet versus Fiennes? Tough race.